There was so much activity going on that pond. I mean, you want to see that pond. We used to go tip-up fishing, and it was one of the best ponds in the United States. I'm telling you, I could verify it. I mean, for fishing, you had about 7, 8 different kind of fish in there, everything you could think of. And I mean, I go there some nights with my uncle, get down there fishing, and catch 70 bullheads like nothing within 2 hours' time. But it was the greatest days of my life, I'll tell you. And if I ever lived, those are the days to live. Not today, those days. But we had so much fun. Every Saturday or weekends, we'd have big bonfires down at the dike. And we'd roast marshmallows and cook hot dogs and hold ice skating rinks in the winter. We'd all go ice skating and stuff. And then after that, the next day we'd all go our tip-up fishing and go up and down. And when I was 9 years old, I remember catching a 32-inch pickerel out of there. It was great fishing. And we also had, after this, we also had a lot of snowmobiling. Later on came out with the snowmobiles, and then we had snowmobile races in there. But during that time between there and the snowmobile races, when we were tip-up fishing out there was this guy that would go up and down the pond with his car. And he would go around and he'd have a case of beer on his hood and a bottle. And he'd go around there, every guy that was fishing out there, have a shot and a beer around the pond. But it was so comical. And, you know, and I'm telling you, it was something else in them days. I mean, I used to go duck hunting up there, and I remember when we go up there and shoot the ducks, and boy, they'd come over by the hundreds at that time, and there was so many ducks. And so one day I was up there, my buddy, you know, this older guy, he's Harvey Shelders, he's 96 years old now. He's still alive. I wish he was here. He's up in Vermont. I know he's got pictures of this. And but him and this other guy would go up there fishing or duck hunting all the time. They said, geez. Then they come back and they seemed like they were a little under the weather. I said, what the heck are these guys doing? So one day I asked him, can I use your blinds? They built blinds to hide, you know, from the ducks. So he said, sure. So I go up there. They weren't going up. So I go up there and I look in the water there and I see this string. And I said, what the heck's on that string? I pull the string out and there I find a bottle of brandy. Well, what they were doing was going up on and then getting into brandy. That was so comical. I seen him. I said, now I know why you guys. He said, yeah, and the water keeps it nice and cold. He said, too, because it's ice. Well, years ago they had these regular steel traps. Now they got all different kind of traps that you use there. But you use the trap, you put a bait on them, and you got to put them down in the water so deep and put some kind of apple over them or something if they liked, and you catch them, and then we'd sell them for the furs. Because the furs are worth a lot of money in them days. When I was a kid, I used to get, well, $35 for a mink. And to me, in the 60s and 50s, $35 was a lot of money. And even in the 40s, that was a lot of money in them days. I used to work at a chicken farm for a quarter an hour. So to get $35 by trapping was a big thing. Muskrat would bring like $3.75. Beaver like $20, 25. So it was great in them days.
When did that practice go out?
When what?
When did that go out? I mean, I don't think people are selling them for fur anymore, but do you remember like when that stopped? Like when people stopped selling them for fur?
No, I think people still trap. I don't know if they trap there anymore. But people still trap all over. They trap down by our club pond. They trap everything for the beaver and stuff. Because you got to control the beaver too, because otherwise they dam up everything and they break down a lot of trees and stuff, you know, and stuff.
Yeah, they're
so they use that to control them too. So.
Yeah.
But the furs aren't worth that much anymore. So. And they can grow their own things better, I think, than on these farms, and they can actually raise them, you know. So. But it's just a sport, you know. It's a thing you did. And, but we had such times on that fish. And then I said, I remember the time when the guy was out there, he was going duck hunting. And all of a sudden we heard there's something, and the guy comes in, the poor guy had a couple of his fingers taken off on his hand. Well, what had happened, his canoe had tipped over, and he dropped his gun in the water, and he swam down and went to grab his gun out, and he must have not had the safety on, and the thing went off. Oh. And that was one of the bad things there. And then we got my sister was out there swimming. See, we used to go swimming in the summer in the lake, take the boat out. We had a motorboat there. and we'd just go out from the dock a little bit, and we'd go out in the middle and dive off the boat. And it was about 15 feet deep at that time, and up above it was at least 10 feet, It was a beautiful lake. And we used to, my sister was out there swimming, and a turtle got a hold of her, big snapping turtle, got a hold of her back of her heel, of her foot, and pulled her under, but she finally got loose from it. Come out, and she had a big thing with a snapping turtle hat on her. So we had our times over there, but it was some of the greatest times, I'll tell you. Other times we'd have, on the weekends, we'd have demolition derbies. We'd have 30-some cars out on the pond at one time. And they were old cars, and they didn't go that fast, but you could bang into one another, and it didn't even hurt them. They just bounce off one another.
This is on the ice?
On the ice.
All those cars?
30-some ponds between there and where you can see up to that corner. And one car went through the ice up by the island, which was across from that White House up there. That White House that you see from the dike is Mr. Hacker's house. That was his. And one car went through, but the trouble is there was a spring by the island, and he didn't know it. And he got sliding, he couldn't stop, went in there. But we had a wrecker come out on the ice and pick it up and get it out of there with a wrecker. That's how thick the ice was in them days. Wow. And then later on, when me and my buddy went camping down there, or ice fishing down there, he had a camper and with a Jeep. So him and I took it up to the pond. We said, well, we'll go up camping, but it was a warm day. It was in January, and it warmed up fast. Well, we were out there with a camper, and all of a sudden we were listening to the ice and it starts cracking. So I said, I don't know. I said, we better get out of here. So we started down the pond with a camper, and the camper was breaking through the ice behind us, and we made it all the way down with the Jeep and up on the shore.